In this session, I want to guide you through the process for breaking the fear chain. This is a chain at level 3, and if you've been following the 12 chains and the work that I've been doing, level 3 is all about mental images. The images that we create in our head of worst case scenarios, what other people think. And the 4 chains at this level are risk, fear, perception, and pressure. Fear is one of the strong ones. We often stop ourselves doing things because of fear. We fear the outcome, we fear the uncertainty. We create these worst case scenarios and pictures in our mind, and that's one of the things that holds us back. So for this session, I want to guide you through an exercise to start breaking through that fear chain. I'll also share a couple of stories. I've had to break through fear in my own life, various different times in different ways, and in my book I write about skydiving. For years I was scared of skydiving because of the mental image that I created, and that I might go splat, that the parachute wouldn't open and it would all go horribly wrong. And then I pushed myself to do it, to jump out, or maybe get pushed out. There's an opportunity with some friends, birthday celebration, let's go and skydive. So I joined on, got up into the plane, and I was up there. I had no choice. I was going out. So I had to break through that fear, get strapped in, because it was a tandem jump, and I had to just accept what was going to happen. I obviously didn't know. I'd created the mental image previously of the worst case scenario, and that's often what we do, but I had to go through with the actions. I was now largely out of control. I was strapped to someone, we were in the plane, the green light was on, it's time to go. So I had to break through fear and say, yes, I understand what could happen, but I also understand the positives that could happen. And it's strange, sometimes we create these images and it is the worst case, and then we take the action or we do the thing, and the experience that we get is completely opposite. And that was what I experienced. It was, after doing the free fall and opening the parachute, it was so peaceful, so quiet. Looking out over Dubai, over the Palm, it was just serene. It was an amazing experience. Sadly, I can't now do it again. It's one of the things that I advise not to do after my neck injury. But it's that thing. We create these images and we let those images stop us from taking action. And that's why in this session I want to give you an exercise to help you think about breaking the chain of fear. Yes, I could touch on pressure and perception and risk as the other chains at this level, but fear for a lot of people is a big one. Public speaking, a great example. We fear the audience response. We fear they may fall asleep, they may laugh at us, not clap, looking off into space because we're not interesting and engaging. We create all these images in our mind before we get up on stage, and I've experienced that myself. But I can also create that image of the positive. A round of applause, questions afterwards, some comments that, that was really insightful, or you've changed my way of thinking, or that's really going to be useful, I'm going to be able to apply that to my life. So we can create images on both sides, the positive and the negative. And so the exercise that I encourage you to do is write down all of the fears that you know you have. Now, maybe fears of, I mentioned public speaking, jumping out of an aeroplane, going somewhere that you've not been before, trying a new food. Whatever it is, just create a list. Because the 4 steps to breaking a chain are about assessing. That first step is assessing where we are currently. And if we can do that, if we can create the list, it means we can take the next steps. We can understand, okay, why do I have this fear? What's creating this mental image for me? Is it something that I've seen, I've read, somebody's told me? What is influencing that? Why do I have this fear? And once we've assessed, we gain the power to start changing that narrative, start changing the picture. So the first step, creating the list. Second step, understanding. Third step, we know, is about introducing. How do we change that mental image? How do we put something in its place? How do we introduce a new way of thinking or a new way of looking at a particular situation? I had fear of posting content, writing a book, publishing it, in case I got negative feedback. But the other side to that is, but if I can support and help one person, is that worth it? For me, yes. That's what it's all about. So we can move away from the negative side. We have that power. We can create a different story, a different image. But it all starts with identifying what those fears are and why we have them. Maybe it's something from our childhood that has impacted us. Public speaking, that thing of, I had a bad situation at school, doing a school play or something like that, and actually that's followed us through, and we're now reluctant to get up on stage or put ourselves out there and put ourselves forward because of the looks that we get from the people in front of us, the comments, the feedback, whether we get a round of applause. We shouldn't let it stop us. If we have the vision for what we want to achieve in life, how we want to live, we've done the tail grid exercise, and we know the things that we're working towards, we need to take the steps. If we let fear stop us, we may work through all of the other change. We'll stop the convenience and we'll do an hour less on Netflix, and we'll stop eating badly, and we'll think about the relationships that we have and only spend more time on those that fuel us. Make some of the other changes, fill the knowledge gap and break that knowledge chain. If we then still let fear stop us from taking some of the other actions that we need to take, we're going to stay stuck. So we need to battle fear. We need to overcome it. And there's a great t-shirt that I've got. I enjoy wearing it, and it says, once you become fearless, life becomes limitless. If we can work through our fears, if we can understand them and what's actually creating them in the first place, we can break through, we can break free, and then we can continue on our journey towards the vision that we have for our lives. So in the book and the 8-week program that I have, there is that exercise for fear. We go through all of the others as well, but it's identifying what those fears are. It may be a list of 5, 10, 30. Obviously, it's individual to you, but taking that time to really think and say, why am I creating this image? What have I seen or read or been told or had an experience of that now makes me think and feel this way? I have, not necessarily, I'd say a huge fear, but I have a reluctance to be around large dogs because in my past, one of my friends was bitten. Now, it didn't impact me, but I was there, I witnessed it. And so I know what can happen. And because I've witnessed it, I now feel a lot more reluctant to be in the same space as large dogs. I mean, small dogs can bite you in just the same way, but that experience that I had, it led to me creating the image that every time I was going to be in that situation, that sort of thing was going to happen. Dog would lunge at me, there'd be that greater chance of getting bitten. Has it happened? No. I've been around large dogs quite regularly. Again, I'm reluctant and not comfortable with that situation just because of what's happened in my past and that experience that I had with a friend, and it's something that I'm continuing to work through. But I understand why I'm creating that image. It's based on that experience. So if we can understand where our fears are coming from, what's creating them, why we have those mental images, then we can start to address them. So that's one of the things for us to think about as we try and break through these chains. Assess where we are. Understand what's causing that situation. Introduce new things, new ways of thinking, new ways of looking at a situation, new mental images, because that's what this is all about. It's level 3, it's the mental images that just have sat there for potentially years, just going round and round in our head, and so they've become ingrained. That's our default position. Whenever we think of something, it's like, we jump to that negative. So it does take time, it takes effort to break free, but if we can go through that step process of assess, understand, and introduce, we put ourselves in a much better position to break that fear chain, to work through situations and take the steps towards where we want to go. So that's the key thing about fear. We can be stood next to someone and they can have completely different fears because it's based on the images that we create in our head. And if they're fearful of things that we aren't and we're fearful of things that they aren't, that also means we can change. They've demonstrated if they're fearful of something different and they're not fearful of the same things we are, that means that we don't have to be fearful of those things. And that's what gives us the power. We have the power to change. So there's an exercise there that you can do. We've looked at level 1, we've looked at level 2. This is now level 3, specifically about fear.